Om Agyantanandasya Yamanjalasalakaya Chakshadmilitam Jana Tasmai Shri Gave Namaha Shri Caitanya Manopistam Savitam Tarim Swayam Rupakara Vayam Dharanti Swarantikam Namam Vishnuvara Krishavisa Uttane Shimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namah Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pujayane Yavashesha Shunyavadi Pasata Vishatahare Vanshakapa Dvivesha Kripa Sinvevacham Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you very much for coming, for showing some interest in our topic of Vanaprastha Ashrama, even though there's quite a few things parallel going. So that's encouraging to me. Actually, let me share. I gave a similar presentation in 2018 on the MLS, but I think I was a little ahead of times because people were not so aware of this. Yeah, and it was surprising to me that people said, "Oh, Vanaprastha, that's not for me. I'm not interested in that. That's not me." But now people don't realize it's a must. Yes. So let us begin by understanding that there is definitely a lack of training and education in ISKCON on the importance of the Vanaprastha Ashrama. Yes. There's no courses, not much literature, no seminars, nothing. You may have seen I published a book. It just came out 2 weeks ago. Yeah, just in time for the ILS. So in the introduction, I call it the Forgotten Ashram. And I'm making this joke. ISKCON is 50 now. And Prabhupada says 50 Vanaprastha Ashrama. So it's time for ISKCON to accept the Vanaprastha Ashrama. That's my joke. Yeah, so there is not much understanding at all. In fact, there's so many misconceptions. I actually have a 15-hour course on this topic, which I offer every year in January here in Mayapur. And now I put that course in book form. So this will just be a little teaser, hoping that you all walk out with a book. And there you get the full package. Yeah. Yes, so let me start by making the connection to culture. So in a culture where sense gratification is the goal in life, our attitude towards the elders and retirement is very different. For a non-devotee, retirement means last chance to enjoy life. And the elders are pushed aside. They're seen as a burden, right? Yes. It's a big topic. Whereas in a culture where self-realization is the goal, the attitude to elders and to retirement, very, very different, right? It's actually as different as day is from night. 269 in Bhagavad Gita says, what is day to the common person is night to the introspective sage, right? So this day-night principle accompanies us through all aspects of devotional life. So what is success in material life most likely is an obstacle in the cultivation of bhakti. And what is success in spiritual life is seen as an impediment, a weakness being a loser with mundane eyes. Yes, that's the situation. So, yeah, in spiritual culture, the elders, they're viewed as embodying life experience, self-realization, knowledge, wisdom, right? And we approach them with respect, we serve, we care for them, and they give, they share all their life experience with the younger generation. That's a very natural thing in a culture where self-realization is the goal, right? Yes. And of course, the attitude to retirement is again 180 degrees opposite. Instead of maximizing sense gratification, we minimize it and we deepen our spiritual life and absorption and. So this may be one reason why this Vanaprastha Ashrama is not so much established, because we are conditioned by materialistic propaganda and culture and so on. Yes. And of course, well, let's park this for later. Just very briefly, let's touch upon this fact of Krishna's perfect system of being the 4 ashrams. I heard yesterday Shiva Swami was giving a presentation on one ashram. Yeah, so these 4 ashrams are just the perfect system for purification, right? Yes. I mean, we don't have time to get into it, but in the book I'm touching upon it in so many more details. But in any case, these ashrams give us stability and harmony in this material world, so we can wholeheartedly develop our Krishna consciousness. And every ashram has its purifying duties. They're very clearly defined, right? And they also give protection. They bring along a certain mindset, a certain consciousness. Consciousness of a brahmachari, very different to grihastha, very different to vanaprastha, and then for some rare souls is also the sannyas ashram there. But actually the first 3, as far as possible, should be accepted. And the vanaprastha is a must. Yeah, it's a must. So, and then also let us understand, brahmachari ashram sets the foundation to the grihastha ashram, right? If we have had that training as brahmachari or brahmacharini, then we will be good grihasthas. Yeah. And also brahmachari life sets the foundation to vanaprastha, because if we have tasted that nectar of being absorbed and fully dedicating ourselves to service, then throughout the grihastha ashram we are longing to once again get there. And then it will be very natural. I was 4 years in the brahmacharini ashram when I joined in Australia, in Sydney. Then I was married for 10 years. Then my husband left Krishna consciousness. So then very naturally I went into the renounced phase, very natural. And also, the grihastha ashram sets the foundation to the vanaprastha ashram. We may wonder, how is that? Well, if our family life was or has been an ashram, then we get that necessary purification and maturity to move on to the renounced phase of life, right? But yeah, I dare say this is one other reason why the Vanaprastha Ashrama is not deeply established, because I hope I can say this here, many householders, family life, we can't call it an ashram. That's the point. Yes. That's why sometimes we find devotees get married a 3rd time when they're 65, because they did not get that purification and maturity in their family life. Yes. And then we're not ready to move on to the next phase. Yes. So I have also here book Family Life as an Ashram. We always say Krishna is in the center, but what does it practically mean that Krishna is in the center? That we disregard. Yes. Yes. So these are my humble realizations why I'm giving attention to this topic and realize it's not properly established, out of these reasons. If our family life is not an ashram, we are lacking the maturity and purification. Yeah. So now, I have included quite a few nice quotes. Well, yeah, we have half an hour. There's in the summary to 7th canto, 12th chapter, I took this one sentence out. After the Grihastha ashram is another ashram known as Vanaprastha, which is midway between Grihastha and Sannyas. Nice way to define it, But it is not that Vanaprastha is the necessary absolute preparation for sannyas. Meaning not every Vanaprastha has to become a sannyasi. No. For many, for most, Vanaprastha is enough. If we practice it nicely, no need for sannyas. Yeah. So now I have more quotes. There's so many quotes, but I've just printed in bold what I will quickly read. 2:116. To prepare oneself for the better next life, one must get out of one's so-called home. The system of Varnashram Dharma or Sanatana Dharma prescribes retirement from family encumbrances as early as possible after one has passed 50 years of age. And then there's some other things coming. One is recommended to quit home just to get rid of material attachment, because one who sticks to family life until death cannot get rid of material attachment. Let's be clear in this. Very strong words. And as long as one is material attached, one cannot understand spiritual freedom. It's all in the Bhagavatam, very clear. You may wonder, how could we miss it for 50 years? And then there's another one. I don't read the beginning, just the bold printing. No king or respectable gentleman would continue family life till the end, because that was considered suicidal and against the interest of the perfection of human life. So no gentleman stays in family life until the end. Yes. In order to be free from all family encumbrances and devote oneself 100% in the devotional service of Lord Krishna, this system is always recommended for everyone because it is the path of authority. So it's for everyone. So now we can accept the mood and underlying principles of Vanaprastha life and apply it wherever we may be. Because in the Bhagavatam there's so many quotes about wearing back and being submerged in water and this and that. So when we read this, we will think, this is not for today. But no, we simply extract the underlying principles and we can apply them wherever we may be living, in New York or in London or wherever it may be. That's the whole idea. So, a few very basic, clear principles. No more sex life. Prabhupada emphasizes it in so many quotes. Vanaprastha, no more sex life. Vanaprastha, no more sex life. It comes again and again and again. So, and also one principle is that we're reducing worldly and family duties. Work, business, it's actually very natural. The kids should be established in life, ideally married, or at least in a job. So naturally our family duties reduce. And we are free to do so many things which we could not do while the kids were small. And so that's the time to increase our absorption in spiritual practice. Yes, it's almost like going back to brahmachari life, joyful. So many things we can do, Yes, it's an adventure, yeah. So, and we do want to increase austerity, minimize comfort and material attachments. We want to get out of our cozy home, yes. And we're switching from external achievements more towards internal achievements and activities. This is also a very important thing, because if we don't do this voluntarily, a health crisis will force us, right? Yes, we see it so many times. All of a sudden a health crisis strikes, then we can't run around, do so many things. So better we make this switch a little voluntarily, a little earlier. This is also for brahmacharis important too, even though brahmacharis, of course, they don't accept Vanaprastha life. But these principles are important also for brahmacharis, yes. Yes, so if we don't do this, and then a health crisis strikes, then we face a vacuum there, Yes, some midlife crisis, some depression, but if we build up some internal substance, if we have a rich internal life, then we will have something to fall back to. So that's part of Vanaprastha life, because the body forces us. An aging body is not designed to run around and lift pots and do this and that, So we have to go more internal. Of course, we share, we preach, we guide so many things, but this running around and achieving, that's the age from 25 to 50 or something, and then we slow down a little bit, And of course, all ashrams actually teach us to give up our independence, right? Brahmachari, no independence, even no bank account if you're true brahmachari. So grihastha, you're given a little bit of independence, but there's wife, husband, kids, you can't do what you want to do, right? So, and then Vanaprastha Ashrama, we increase more our dependence on the Lord and His devotees, and then sannyas, full dependence on the Lord, Perfect system to give up our independence. So, and another important thing is we delegate our responsibilities to the younger generation, and we are allowing them to take our charge. We are empowering the young generation. Such an important topic. We have the examples in the Shastra, Prithu Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj, they divided up their kingdoms and walked out, So we have to hand over, because every generation has their contribution to make to Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. But if we stick to our posts until we are 75, then the next generation is already 50. So then they missed out already their phase of achieving things and making their contribution. And if this doesn't happen, if we don't delegate and hand over, then we become stagnant, others around us become stagnant, the whole movement becomes stagnant. Big topic. In the book I'm going through so many details, I'm just quickly touching on a few things here, Yes, so, and another misconception we have, that Vanaprastha means, husband and wife have to separate. No, they don't. They can if they want, but not required. Husband and wife can do it together as a team. We will come across purports, I think, where Prabhupada says, husband can have the wife as assistant, no problem. So they basically can spend more time together or separately in the dham, in different temples, going on parikrama, serving here, serving there, preaching here, preaching there. There's so many different variations according to the nature and mood of the individual personalities. There's not one one size fits everyone here or something, but there's so many variations. So, and Vanaprastha Ashrama is a new challenge. So, best to accept the Vanaprastha mood under the guidance of somebody who has already more experience in meeting this new challenge, right? So, Grihastas who are heading towards Vanaprastha, they should take a Vanaprastha couple as a counselor, because they have experience, they can guide, they can see, is this really the right stage for them? Because sometimes people try to escape their family duties in the name of Vanaprastha, So we have to do this under guidance, just to make sure that things are balanced and, we are not running away from our duties or something, Yes. So the most valuable duty and contribution of Vanaprasthas is very logically, naturally, to share their life experience, their wisdom, their realizations with the younger generation, and give shelter, guidance, uplift them. That is the main and foremost duty of the Vanaprasthas, because they've been through it all, Hopefully they were able to keep one marriage together for 30 years. Wow, that's glorious these days in ISKCON. So they have so much to share, They have so much to share, Yes. So, and that supports and also protects the sannyas ashram, because now we have our sannyasi diksha gurus. They are burdened with family issues, right? Yes, gurus have personally told me this, that 75% of all their time and energy goes for advising the disciples in marriage problems. But that's not their service, actually. That's what we should go to the Vanaprasthas for. Yes, they are meant to guide and deal with all kinds of family issues, right? And that frees the sannyasis to preach what they should be preaching about pure devotional service. And it protects them so they don't have to listen to their lady disciples with all their marriage problems and all this. Yes. So, and depending on our health, our natures, we can fully absorb ourselves in various services, preaching activities, teaching. Also, it's not that every Vanaprastha has to be a preacher. There's so many services we can do, and we share our life experience. So now, and I hope this is okay, I'm kind of rushing a little through these things, I'm hoping that we will have some little time for questions and also some little time to say a few words about all these books. So let me quickly touch upon the effects of this ashram not being established. That's what we have at the moment. Yes. So our ISKCON communities miss out on the wealth of life experience. There's so much unused potential there, right? I often see it. So many experienced grihastas there, but they're sitting idle. Yes. And the younger generation does not receive the valuable guidance, and therefore they're approaching sannyasis and gurus with their family problems. We mentioned that. Devotees may remain attached to their positions and not hand over their responsibilities to the next generation. Yes, that's also here False Ego book. I'm touching upon that too. Yeah, we get often so attached to power, position, influence, and we think, giving up my position, who am I then? What am I then? It's a whole thing. So, and that leads to stagnation of the individual person and to others around us and to the whole society at large, or to projects. Yes. And the senior devotees miss out on cultivating the mood of renunciation and detachment and remain entangled in deep family ties. One real challenge is the grandchildren. Very often when we don't get this training and education of Vanaprastha life, then people start all over again with Grihastha Ashram with the grandchildren. Then the grandkids become the purpose of life, you know? And then on our deathbed we think, oh, my granddaughter, I didn't get to see her getting married, and then we have to come back to see the granddaughter getting married. So yeah, maybe not such a good idea. I think it's not worth it, you know? Yes, we take the risk of taking birth again, because family attachments are so deep, so strong. You know? We have to remember Krishna alone at the moment of death. Krishna alone, not Krishna and my wife, my husband, my grandkid, my cat and dog, but Krishna alone. So that requires serious preparation. Yeah. And we could have so many more senior, full-time devotees and preachers if this ashram is established, right? Because now we have often senior devotees being busy maintaining their house and fixing the roof and cutting the grass, you know, but they could just get rid of the house, you know, and free themselves of all that and actually perform full-time service. Yes, yes. That's the whole thing. So that's all what we are missing out at the moment. Yes. So now, I want to very quickly touch upon 3 basic principles of forest life. We accept the forest life principles and we can apply them anywhere in the world. Let me read again one little quote here, summary from 11th canto, 18th chapter. One who is taking to the Vanaprastha stage of life should leave his wife at home in the care of his son, or else take her along, and with a peaceful mind spend the 3rd quarter of his life in the forest. And then it continues with so many descriptions. So the first principle of forest life is living simply, simplifying our environment, our living space, decreasing comfort. You imagine you live in the forest, so it's going to be pretty simple, simple, simple. No fancy couches and this and that and interior decoration and whatnot. No, simple, simple, simple. Right? So we extricate that principle. And yeah, rather than going to the forest, we invite that principle into our home. Very practical, can be gradually cultivated. So we start by simplifying our surroundings and keep only the absolute necessary things to keep body and soul together, which is not much. So, very practical, we free ourselves from so many extra household things which we have collected for so many years. See, I'm traveling all around the world, just in case you don't know me. And I often stay with grihasthas and I'm thinking, oh my God, how much stuff, the bigger the house, the more junk is accumulated. So it's liberating to free yourself from this. And you start all small, you get rid of all kami books which are still sitting there and all this and that. And yeah, you give away, you sell, or throw it out, and you free yourself. Because all these things we attach to, they occupy some space in our mind, which could be freed for Krishna to be there. Yeah, yes. Yes. Yeah, we give in charity to young grihasthas who start off their family life. Yes. Yes, very liberating. Yes. All items we attach to occupy some space within our mind. I've said it already. And it is so liberating. I'm living out of a suitcase. I've been living like this for 25 years. Yes, I don't have a big bookshelf with all kinds of collections. No, I don't have that. I read a book, give it away, and I can find it again if I want. Yes, no problem. So I live out of a suitcase. Every pair of socks I have to think, do I really need this? Yes. It's very liberating. Yeah. Good life. We will leave everything behind anyway when we leave, right? So, better voluntarily rather than being forced by death. And we get the benefit and joy of giving things in charity, right? Yes, you can start with it today. Go through your place, give a few things away, get rid of stuff. Empty rooms, they're good. You can breathe, yes. Often people have these cluttered rooms with all furniture and stuff. Just move it out and you can breathe, yes. Yeah, so principle number 2. We simplify our externals. Yes, let's imagine we live in the forest. So, we don't have all different fancy clothing and decorations and knickknacks and gadgets and all that. So this is especially also for the ladies, because while we are in Grihastha Ashram, we women are meant to bring color and beauty into life. But then Vanaprastha, we should become detached from that. So we simplify our dress. No ornaments, no makeup. It's a gradual process, Yeah, it's a gradual cultivation. We wear more and more subdued colors until we go white with a border. White with a border is Vanaprastha, only white is widow. So I'm actually, by the way, I'm Vanaprastha because my husband is spiritually dead and gone, so I see myself as a widow. Yeah. But if there's a husband there still, then we wear white with a border. Yeah. Has to be gradually and internally cultivated, not simply externally accepted. Otherwise it easily becomes another fashion. I'm wearing white now, look at me. And everybody will notice. No need for that. It has to feel right internally. You have to meditate and cultivate and do it gradually. And that reduces bodily contact, gross and subtle. We give up false ego too, because we want to be very special and different and unique and all this. So that manifests in fashion and decorations and all of these kind of things. And our body gets less and less materially attractive anyway. Old age is promoting that, motion into that direction, and ultimately falling apart. So it's Krishna's system to reduce bodily attachment. No need to artificially try and make our body look young. That's what we do in materialistic culture, with anti-wrinkle creams and dyeing hair and this and that. Now, as devotees, we happily embrace these things, yes. And for men also, also usually they're not so colorful as a rule. But yeah, we have the subtle thing. Yeah, please, everybody switch off their phones, my God. Yes, we want to read, for the man, more important maybe to reduce attachment to gadgets. Sometimes people have attachment to fancy watches and fancy aftershave and whatnot. So we just simplify all these things, yes. Yeah, we won't read all that, but we still got 10 minutes. Let me read what I printed in bold letters here. Similarly, when both husband and wife follow the regulative principles of austerity, they remain silent and are not agitated by sex impulses. As At such a time, both husband and wife are benefited spiritually. One can attain this stage of life by completely giving up all luxurious mode of life. In this verse, the word chiravas refers to very old torn garments. The wife especially the wife, Prabhupada says, should remain austere, not desiring luxurious dresses and living standards. She should accept only the bare necessities of life and minimize her eating and sleeping. There should be no question of mating. Simply by engaging in the service of her exalted husband, who must be a pure devotee, the wife will never be agitated by sex impulses. The Vanaprastha stage is exactly like this. You know, nice. How Prabhupada, explains it also nicely. So, principle number 3. So we had simplifying our external surroundings, simplifying our external appearance. Now comes the most difficult one, maybe, simplifying our eating. Yes. So we imagine living in the forest. We're not going to have pizza and gulab jamun and jalebis and koftas and whatnot. No, simple. And again, an aging body is demanding that actually. And if we don't do it, we become overweight. And there's heavy statements what Prabhupada says when we become overweight. I'm not even going to have time to get into this, but you find it all in the book. So there's a summary. A person in the Vanaprastha order is restricted in eating food grains and forbidden to eat fruits that have not ripened on the tree, nor should he cook food with fire, although he is allowed to eat charu, grains that have been offered in the sacrificial fire. He may also eat fruits and grains that have grown naturally. So again, we extricate the principles, right? You get my point? Yes. We simply take out the principles. It's not that, we are not allowed to cook anymore. But no, the principle is simplifying our eating. That's the principle, And our digestion becomes weak anyway. An aging body is not designed to enjoy luxurious foods. Right? Isn't it? Anybody here over 50, 60 has that experience. It's Krishna's system to give up desire for sense gratification. That if we don't do it, then we become overweight and sick. The bill comes. Every sense gratification, the bill comes. Sometimes 10 years later, but it comes. So, and gradually the body will fall apart. We lose control over bodily functions. We have to accept service and help. It's a whole purifying journey. My God. Very, crushing the false ego. Because false ego, we like to be in control, but then, we can't even control urine, we become incontinent and whatnot. This is the last phase of intense purification, that we really come to the point, I've had it, I want to get out of here. Yes. So old age and disease, it really helps us to cultivate gratitude, tolerance, humility, super intense purification. So Vanaprastha Ashrama is meant to help us to prepare for death. That's what it's all about. Death, our final challenge. I want to read these last 2 quotes. At the last stage of one's life, one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death, but one must cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it and all desires thereof. That's what Vanaprastha Ashrama is all about. And then another nice purport. Because a devotee rigidly follows the instructions of Narada Muni, He has no fear of old age, disease or death. Apparently a devotee may grow old, but he is not subjected to the symptoms of defeat experienced by a common man in old age. Consequently, old age does not make a devotee fearful of death, as a common man is fearful of death. A devotee knows that after death he's going back to go home, back to Godhead. Therefore, he has no fear of death. Thus, instead of depressing a devotee, advanced age helps him to become fearless and thus happy. Yeah. Meeting death with joy. I want to quickly show you the books, because I feel such urgency to get them into people's hands. Many of you have them already, but not everybody. So in this book, Vanaprastha Ashrama, there is so many important things. And there is a whole section on death. What happens at the moment of death, how to prepare, all the subtleties, and how to support others in this final journey. I have accompanied quite a few devotees. And these last 2 weeks, my own parents also, I stopped all my traveling, flew back to Germany, and I kept them at home, not in the hospital. And I really helped them to focus. They both had a very glorious departure. So we have to learn the service, because you know, what's the use of our whole preaching if at that time we don't know how to give support? You know? Yes, very important. So please, take this book. Then we have Family Life as an Ashram, Secrets of Success. Hang on, where do I have that? Here. That is in many ways the preparation for Vanaprastha Ashrama, because as I said, if our family life is not an ashram, then yeah, we first have to start tightening up our family life, you know, and row back to good sadhana, strict standards, and then we can move on to the Vanaprastha Ashrama. But even for those who are not near that, very helpful. There's so many things, how to create the culture of bhakti in the home. There's a whole section on physical intimacy in marriage, how to live the principle of no illicit sex life. So much misunderstanding there. I did a bit of research. I came across interesting instructions from Prabhupada, which you will not find in the Bhagavatam. And that adds a whole different perspective to the whole topic. Then we have Entering the Grihastha Ashram. This is a handbook for matchmaking, especially important in India. In India, people look at caste and money and not much more than that. They don't look at devotional compatibility. So there's a whole list of over 200 topics which a boy and a girl should discuss with a cool head to see, are we on the same page? They can discuss it in the presence of the parents. You know, that we have harmonious and stable families. Then we have the false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. Title speaks for itself. False ego is so subtle. We can feed and boost it all in the name of preaching, instead of subduing and dissolving the false ego. And there's also a whole chapter on chanting the holy name, because I do conduct holy name retreats also. And then we have sheltering relationships. That's actually the contribution of the Vanaprasthas, giving guidance, serving as a mentor or counselor. Very important topic. So it's not enough to have guru, diksha, shiksha guru, not enough. We need a counselor who watches us, who sees how we practice, who can correct us. Bharat Maharaj, his problem was he didn't have a counselor. He was all alone in the forest, and he didn't have anybody to tell him, hey, leave the deer alone and get back to your sadhana, right? Yeah, so that should be a warning to us that we all need such a person. Spiritual culture, Krishna's divine system. This is about the man-woman natures, mentalities, that they're very, very different because they're meant to play different roles. Very insightful. I highly recommend it. this man-woman equality is on the level of the soul, but bodies very, very different. And if we think that the equality is on the level of the body, we realize it will put the whole human society upside down. Yeah. So please, dear devotees, if you don't have the book yet, please get them. The last two are 300, the first four are 350, whole set is 2,000 rupees, or if you just want to get the Vanaprastha book, 350. You can pay with QR code. Okay. I'm 1 minute over. Well, let me quickly ask if there's one question. Do we have a question? Or did I steamroll the wall again? Yes. Yes?
Keeping Krishna in the center, you said. Just wanted to know how in Vanaprastha Ashrama.
In Vanaprastha Ashrama? Or in Grihastha Ashrama? I mentioned it in the connection with Grihastha life. That we say so easily, yes, Krishna is in the center, but how do we live it? Yes. But Vanaprastha Ashrama, well, it's a whole thing. I wrote a whole book about it. But yeah, I mean, even in family life, keeping Krishna in the center means there has to be a Mangalati. Well, I'm traveling all over the world. I stay with Grihasthas. Hardly anybody has a Mangalati in their home. Yeah, very rarely. And maybe at 7. But then it's not so Mangal anymore, at 7 o'clock. So I usually say 4:30 or at the latest at 5, but yeah. So if you just put that little detail in your life, that puts everything else in place. You have to take rest early, you can't eat a big heavy meal in the evening, and you will have your japa time in the morning, unless you go back to sleep after the Mangaladi, which is not really a good idea. So that's, for example, one little detail, how to put Krishna really in the center. But very few grihasthas really have a Mangalati at home. And often they live miles away from the temple, And there's no Mangalati. Yeah. One last question, yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, would you recommend something like the Vanaprastha plan for the financial security, health insurance, financial security, sufficient bank balance or health insurance?
It's a big topic, Prabhu. It's all in the book. Yeah. I'm going through all different things there. I'm even recommending to have a Varishta Vaishnava Ashram or Varishta Vaishnavi Ashram for those who really want to dedicate the rest of their life, to service, but they have to join such an ashram before they become invalid. That's the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, just the other day, one senior devotee came up to me and said, I flicked through your Vanaprastha Ashram book, but the problem is we aging devotees need all kinds of things, and breathing, inhalation and whatnot. Well, Prabhupada says Vanaprastha 50 before we become invalid. So if we wait with this until we are 75, then of course it's hard to get out of the cozy home. But with 50, we can do it. So from 50 to at least 60, 65, 70, depending on our health situation,